Hi you guys, welcome back. I am now in my cozy corner of the couch. I hope you missed me. It's been a minute, but I have been busy reading. So let's kind of go in and see what I've done in February. So I don't know why my dog Otis feels the need to play with his toys when he hears me talking, but I just had to banish him to his room so he'll like calm down. So we can actually sit down and discuss what I have done this month. Okay, I definitely read more books than I thought in January, and I honestly was on a roll. I read a lot. I wanted to do a lot of romance because it is Valentine's Day this month in February, so that was fun. But we also kind of spread our wings a little bit. We went to our second book club meeting of the year, very exciting, where we read Iron Flame and we got to discuss it last week. Very, very fun. Even though it was not as good as Fourth Wing, I will say that it still was a good ride reading it. And like coming up with theories as well too. That's one thing I did enjoy, is like being able to discuss it with other people who have read the book, and being able to like figure out like, I think this is gonna happen. I think this is gonna happen. This is how this happened. It's really fun. I didn't think I would actually enjoy it, but you know, I've always been like a little nerdy girl at heart, honestly, and really this is just tapping into like the pure joy of it all. So yeah, if you don't follow me on Goodreads yet, be sure to add me. I will add you back. I have it private, but I will add you back if you do request to read. So first things first, I did get an update to my Kindle. I got a new case. So this case is Brown Cow, which I am in my cowgirl era. I have been in for a minute. I would say since like late 2022, I've been really loving like the cow prints, the cowgirl hats, the boots. Like I live in Texas, so I'm like, embracing it all, right? Rodeo season is soon approaching, all the fun things. But I wanted a case that covered the screen so I would not like mess it up when it got open in my purse and stuff like that. So that's why I got this one. But the best part about it, the back is clear, so I can still see all of my cool stickers, which I absolutely love. I have switched some around. I've gotten some stickers as gifts, and my friends have been adding since we all have Kindles and we're like, you know, all cutesy or whatever. So I do have a couple of those. Also have a couple stickers that I made as well too, and like printed and put it out on my Kindle. Really cool. I did also update my pop socket situation. I got the magnet ring. I don't know if I had this last time, but basically your pop socket sticks to it, so you don't have to commit to the pop socket being on it. So when I do read at night and I'm in bed, I do have a mount that I stick my Kindle on. It's magnetic, like the MagSafe ring, and so that way it holds my book. My husband was making fun of me the other night because I had it set up on top of the headboard. And he was like, you look ridiculous. But I was laying down, I was comfortable. I have my little clicker for my Kindle, and I was just like living my best life. I was cozy. I loved it. I loved it. So yeah, it's been really fun discovering new genres that I've maybe not really looked at before. So that's what I've kind of been up to, is just kind of, you know, broaden my horizons. I can't talk. Broadening my horizons and looking into different things that I may not been first to pick up and read, but I'm giving different things a chance. So let's go ahead and get into what I actually read this month. We just hit February 20th, actually. This is today. So this is 20 days worth of reading. Absolutely insane. So my first 5-star read of the month of February, it's called The Neighbor Favor. Okay, it came out earlier last year and I've bought it on Kindle, yet to read it. I was like, I'll get to it. Eventually, I'll get to it. So I was like, you know what? I'm in a romance mood. It's Black History Month. Let's get into the Black author in the game. And I did not expect to love this book so much. And I'm like, I read romance for a little spice, you know? But this one, it wasn't even that spicy. It was just so Cute. You know that feeling when you were like watching a movie or you're reading a book and you're just giddy the entire time, like you're kicking your feet, like that's how I was reading The Neighbor Favor. If you want something something like a romance that's refreshing, that is a little different, like it's so cute. So starting off, you go in the book, you're reading emails, and you're like, why am I reading emails? But you're reading emails for like 30, 45 minutes, back and forth between this girl, her name is Lily, ends up writing her favorite author of like this indie book, and she finds his email address online and like emails him and like, oh my gosh, just want to let you know love your book. I want to know what happens next. She gets an email back, wasn't expecting it. The dude is like her age. So they start chatting and they go back and forth and they're chatting it up. They're like telling each other their deepest dark secrets, like the perfect date, like all this other stuff. Like it was just so unexpected and they just vibed really well. Like it was great. So it gets to towards the end of the email chain. She decides like, hey, we should meet up on Zoom or something, right? Because he's supposed to be living in England, like he's supposed to be a Brit, so she was like, we should do a Zoom, like we should meet up, and he was like, okay. He doesn't show. Then he sends her very like vague emails like, we can't meet, sorry, I lied to you. This girl thought she got catfished. I would have been mad too. Needless to say, she went on with her life. She was kind of upset, like she really thought she had her man. Especially when it came to like her siblings and her mom, they're really pressuring her to be like, hey, you should settle down. You should find a boyfriend. Why don't you have a boyfriend? And she's like, I did, but not really, but no. Anyway, she ends up moving in with her sister in her apartment. And her new neighbor happens to like fantasy books, and she saw it and she was like that book, that's cool. Um, And comes to find out, the dude that she was like, he's like, we should go talk about the book sometimes. That was him. It was the author. He moved to New York in the same exact building that she lived in. And it was literally like, it was so cute. She had no idea who he was. He figured out who she was very quickly. And so he was like, I don't know what to tell her. I don't know what to tell her. They share a very, very like, I think I know who you are, but I don't want to say it out loud. Type intimate kiss when they first meet. I was just like, oh, right to it, right to it. Ooh. But this was a cute book. It was a perfect build up. It was, yeah, I did not think I would enjoy this book. And I've said before that I don't like books about books. But this one, 5 stars. 5 stars, baby. Give me more. I'm gonna eat it up. I'm gonna eat it up because this was so cute. It made my heart flutter. It made my heart flutter. That's how much it did. So taking a beeline to the opposite of cute and more of a dark romance, I decided to pick up Hooked by Emily McIntyre, which is actually a fantasy dark romance type thing. For my people who have read Hooked, it's on Kindle Unlimited. It gave me the adult fantasy vibes of Once Upon a Time, that show that was on ABC. I love that show. Freaking loved it. The whole Peter Pan hooked, like, whole trope in the show about Peter Pan being evil, like all that fun stuff. Always loved it, right? Always loved it. Basically, it takes that and takes it to a whole nother level. But it's like, not everything is like Peter Pan theme, but not really Peter Pan. So that's what I meant. That's what I mean by it reminded me of Once Upon a Time, because it was like our world, but it was Peter Pan, like characters and stuff like that. Like, it was cute. I gave it 3 stars. It's a little raunchy, just a little bit. Was not expecting that. Oh, I guess the cover kind of gives it away. It's a little raunchy, but I did enjoy it. It was a fun book. I read that ride. It was great. It was fun. His name was Hook. That was his nickname. And he fell in love with the main character. I don't even remember what her name was. But her dad was basically Peter Pan. So if that tells you anything. It wasn't Wendy though. Her name was not Wendy. They had Tink, that was like their Tinkerbell type situation. She was a B word. It was interesting. If you want like a different type of fantasy focused book, that may be a good one. Because I did enjoy Hooked, I enjoyed the ride, love reading it. I did read the second book in her series called Scarred. And Scarred is not like Hooked. And I think that's why I did not like it, because I was expecting it to take on similar tropes of a common story that we already know, and like writing it from a different perspective. It was not that. It was about a girl who's from a small village who gets sent off to get a part of a marriage of convenience situation with a king at the neighboring kingdom, and he has a brother who's like the what do you call it, the outcast, the black sheep, right? And she ends up falling for him because she ultimately did not want to marry the king. She just wanted to be able to get in power so she can save her people back home. She didn't like the king at all. So that was basically that. It was okay. It was okay. If you feel like reading it, it's on Kindle Unlimited. It was cute. It was alright. It was not Hooked, but it was alright. It was a little bit longer than Hooked, but it was a cute book. Um, my next read of February though, girly, I read Bride by Ali Hazelwood. So if you've been on this journey with me, you know I've read 3 of Ali Hazelwood's books already. I love the Love Hypothesis, Love Theoretically, Love on the Brain. I read those, right? They were okay to me. The only reason why I did not like swoon over them was because I felt like I was reading the same book over and over again, like 3 times down. Like they were STEM books, the romance was heavy. Like I don't know what else you can get from that. They kept adding a one bed trope in there, and I was just like, I'm reading the same book. But Bride was her new release in February. It was so interesting. It was so good. It was a fun read. It was such a fun read. It is a fantasy romance. It is her first book into the fantasy realm. It is about a vampire named Misery. And she has to uphold a basically like a contract treaty with the neighboring werewolf tribe, so that way they can protect themselves against the humans. And so she ends up marrying their alpha named Lo. So it's more of a like forced into marriage trope type thing. Of course, they don't like each other at first, didn't really know what to do with it, and then they end up falling for each other in the end. But with the werewolf and vampire trope, girl, girl, and I tell you, at the end of that book, I was gagged. Gagged. It wasn't even about the story. It's about the it is about the spice at the end. I literally wrote 3 red peppers because I was just like, I didn't think I would be into like this monster type of spice, but girl, I was not expecting that. I was not expecting that. I was not expecting that. If you are familiar with werewolf books, right? You may know what a knot is. I didn't know what a knot was. If you want to find out, you should read Bride, because it it's something to experience. That's all I'm gonna say. I gave it 4 stars. Wasn't quite a 5-star read for me, but it was still a good book. Good time. Loved it. If she writes another fantasy book, I'm there 10 toes down. Good time. Good time. Loved it. Good job, Allie. Loved it. Okay. Now, the last few weeks I have been still in the romance kind of thing. I did decide, since it is about to start rodeo season, I did pick up a cowboy romance called Flawless by Lee Silver. It is on Kindle Unlimited. I did not know that. I saw it in Target and I was like, I'll see if it has it on, I'm gonna buy it on Kindle, and then come to find out it's Kindle Unlimited. I gave this book 4 stars. It is about a cowboy who is a bull rider, and his management team is like, hey, you gotta clean up your image. Like, he was losing sponsorships and stuff like that. And so because he had to clean up his image, his marketing director, his PR person was like, "Hey, my daughter's gonna make sure you're okay." You already knew what that was gonna happen. You knew it. So they end up enemies to lovers type situation. I liked it way better than expected. The only complaint that I had, tell me why these people was in Canada. In Canada, of all the places that we could write this book and focus on, it's a ranch in Canada. I guess it's realistic, but it was still weird for me. I'm a Southern girl, and I was thinking like Texas Cowboy, not Texas Cowboy. This is Canada Cowboy, and I just want to know what they sound like. That's my only thing I'm focusing on. Hi, Otis. Can you go lay down? Can you go lay down? No. Go lay down. Go lay down. Go lay down. Okay, so starting off this month, I did finish Akatar. I freaking love that series. I'm obsessed, probably unnaturally obsessed than I should be. But I freaking love Akatar. Sarah J. Maas has my heart. I don't know what she puts in these books, but baby, I read Court of Silver Flames, which is the last book in the series, and it actually goes into Nesta's story, which is the oldest sister of Farah, and I thought Nesta was a B word. I really did, and honestly, she's that girl. And I love Nesta and talk about her love story. She goes through basically a journey of discovering who she is now since she is Fae. And it's very interesting to kind of take that journey with her. She's depressed. She's going through grieving with it all. Her father's dead now. Like, who is she anymore? You know, she's had to give up the life that she had once before, but now she's like, you know what? All caution to the wind. I'm doing whatever the heck I want. And it's that journey that she ends up taking to actually come back on the other side better than what she was before. It really is a beautiful story. It's the first book that is not written in Farah's perspective, which was interesting. And it wasn't in Nesta's perspective either. It was a third person. So that was interesting to read. And it took a minute for me to get into it. But once I got into it, beautiful. She made friends, got to go on that journey as well. Like, it's just a lot of fun things. So if you have not read Court of Silver Flames, it is my second 5-star book out of the Thorns and Roses series. And yeah, it's definitely worth the hype. The next book I read in the month of February was Iron Flame, which is the second book to the Fourth Wing series, written by Rebecca Yarros. I did not know what to expect going into Iron Flame. I wanted to get a lot of answers from the first book. Really just kind of discovering the space that we were in now. The main character, Violet, wakes up and realizes like she's in a new place. She realized the person that she loved the most has been lying to her the entire time. That part right there was half the book, and it made me very upset. Like, Violet came off as a very strong and independent main character, just for her to be hyper focused on being lied to the rest of the second book. And I'm like, bro, get over it, okay? You like Zayden, okay? We understand this. Hey, stop it. We like Zayden, we get that. But like, he had to lie to you because, first of all, you're around a dude that can literally see your memories and understand what's going on in your head. And his dad's a bad guy. So we don't want that to happen. I'm like, bro, like, calm down, get over it, right? There's a lot of new characters in Iron Flame than it was in the first one. A lot of new places that we are in. We reunite with Mira, Violet's sister. We also get a little bit more look into their mom as well. One thing I did enjoy was that we got to see Zayden's life, like, outside of Bascath. So you get to see like where he was from, where he was raised. Like, you kind of find out that he's low-key kind of royalty. He was once engaged. That one flew me, but I really don't think it was engaged. It's more betrothed to another woman, and that woman was, ugh. Anyway, she got on my nerves. But it was a lot going on in this book, and I think that's why I didn't enjoy it as much as the first one. It was just a lot. We actually got to learn a little bit more about the venom, which, come to find out, is not a creature at all. It's just you use power from the earth instead of getting your magic from dragons. Really stupid, but you know, I'll take it. But yeah, gave me a lot of clarity. I did spoil it for myself in the end, so if you don't know what I'm talking about, it's literally the last chapter. I spoiled it for myself halfway through the book, so I read it from a perspective of knowing what you can find out in the last page, and I was upset. I was so mad. I was so mad. But you know what? It's okay. I got over it. I got over it. I read it. I gave it 3 stars. That's as good as it's gonna get. Um, February, I mean, Valentine's Day was approaching, so I was like, I gotta get in my romance era. So I was like, I'm gonna take a break from the fantasy and go into more of the romance focus. I did read a Kindle Unlimited book called Sight Unseen by Kasha Thompson. I have read some of her books before. She's a pretty decent writer. I like her. She's a Black author. This book was very interesting to me because if y'all have ever seen the show Love at First Sight, on, does it come on A&E? I think so. It's not, it's like Love is Blind before Love is Blind was a thing. Basically where the people sign up to go through like a psychiatrist diagnosis and talk to counselors and stuff, and they match them with their perfect partner, and they don't meet them until the wedding day at the altar, and then they decide to marry these people or not, and they have to stay together for like 90 days, right? That's the whole thing. So it is a love at sight kind of idea. The main character, Evelyn and Quincy, they sign up to marry each other. Quincy is an attorney. He's very much straight to the point. He's a little grumpy, and that's probably why he has not found anybody yet before he meets Evelyn. And Evelyn is very artsy. She is free-spirited, creative, you know, goes with the flow type of gal. Come to find out, she's also been married before, and he didn't know that. But they ended up being a perfect match for each other, which is really interesting. It's cute. It was a very cute book. But yeah, Quincy had a lot of issues with communicating, which I think that was the biggest piece of it. But when you are marrying somebody you don't know, like blindly, of course it's going to be like that. And then at the end, I feel like it was forced chaos. Meaning that, like, I feel like the Kasha Thompson, when she wrote it, she was trying to make it seem like, okay, there's some type of struggle, like we're in trouble now, oh no, we're on the rocks, like, but it felt forced. It didn't feel natural. It was Evelyn got mad at Quincy. I don't even remember. Oh, he had, his ex-girlfriend was texting him, and he never really engaged with her, but like she just kept blowing up his phone, and she was mad because she found his phone and saw those text messages. And I was just like, ma'am, of all things be mad at, you mad at that? You know he don't like her no more. We've already discovered this. Like, why are we going through this? So it was, I felt kind of like it was kind of forced, but it still was a cute book. I gave it 4 stars. Spice level, I give it like a 2 out of 5. 2 out of 5. Yeah, I'll give it 2 out of 5. It was interesting. But let's see, what else did I read? After I read my Cowboy romance, I did switch it up. I switched it up. I said I read enough romance for the month of February. Let's do something different. And I decided to pick up Glory B. Again, Black authors, Black History Month. You should do it. If you haven't done it, you might discover something new that you like. Glory B is a mystery. It's just focusing on a lady named Glory who lives in Lafayette, Louisiana, which I'm a Louisiana girly through and through. Shout out to the hometown, Monroe. But it takes a journey of Glory, whose best friend happens to be a nun, and she ends up dying, and it was a type situation. And they were like, there's no way she would have done that to herself. But they ruled it as such, and Glory was like, I don't believe it. I'm gonna find it out for myself. And so you got this old 50-year-old woman with her daughter who came down from New York, and they were like, we're gonna solve the mystery. And they did. And it was different. It took me a while to get into it. It is a shorter read. So I was like, oh, it's not gonna take me that long to read. But then I was just like, like, it was cute at first. Like, they're mentioning places that I'm familiar with, and places I know from like real life. So that was the fun part of it. But it was just like, again, it just took a little bit to pick up. I still have a lot of questions after it. It was released back in October of 2023. It is supposed to be part of a series, but we'll see what happens. I don't know if I'm gonna finish it, but it was okay. It was a cute book. I gave it 3 stars. But yeah, if you're like Louisiana type tropes type situations, it might be a good thing for you. So yeah, my next book that I read in February, which so far this is how many books that I've read? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So 10 books. 11 actually, 11 total. So the next book that I read was actually a second book in a series. I did read All I've Ever Wanted, All I've Ever Needed by A.E. Valdez, I'm sorry, earlier this summer. And it was okay to me. I feel like people were like, really like, oh my gosh, it's 5-star read, 5-star read. And I was just like, honestly, guys, like, it was okay to me, but like, I didn't really like, I wasn't obsessed with it. I wasn't like 5 stars. No, like, I think I gave it like 4, maybe 3, 3.5. I can't remember. All I know is it was okay. It was forgettable to me. But when I tell you A.E. Valdez put her whole foot in the second one, Colliding with Faith, girl, I loved it. Loved it. I gobbled that up. Gobbled it up. I finished it in like basically one day. Because it was such a cute book. I see that she started out with like the friend group being a big thing in like the first one, and so it kind of continues on with the friend group situation in the second one, where we actually focus on a guy main character. His name's Kyrell. It's Harlow's best friend from the previous book, and Kyrell lives in California in LA, and he actually is really successful. He has a lot of money. He apparently comes from money in his family, but he doesn't really talk about his family that much. And then he owns his own dispensary. Like, he's a businessman. He knows what he's doing. He's out here grinding. He's getting his stuff done. And then come to find out, a friend that they share, Harlow's other friend, comes and moves to LA and needs help moving. And she was like, hey, you should just call Kyrell. And she's like, okay, I'll call him. Calls him, ends up like being cool, being friends, hanging out. It was such a good book. I don't even want to spoil it for you guys because the twists, the turns, the drama. Oh, it was. If they make this to a movie, it's one ride. It is a ride, baby. It was so much fun reading it because it was just, then that happened. Then what? That happened? That's crazy. Ah! And it was perfect. It was perfect. It was perfectly well written. It was the story was easy to follow. Like, his Kyrell's family comes back and you're like, where have they been? You start to learn more about that, his past, and finds out a lot of it wasn't even like real. Ugh. It was so good. It was so good. So yeah, if you have not read any of A.E. Valdez's books, I would start with All I've Ever Wanted, All I've Ever Needed. Okay, just to get a taste of it, right? But the second one, Kai, baby boy, love it. Love it. And it ends in a way that most romance books don't end, because you know romance always ends up like, I'm gonna propose to her in a very magical way and then we're gonna be married. No. Not what you expect. But I loved it. Loved it. It was very refreshing. I loved it. 5 stars. Final book I did read so far in February was actually the third book in that same series, called A Worthy Love. Now, this one did have a trigger warning at the beginning of it. It was way spicier than the other ones. Way spicier. Now, she has spicy books. Like the Colliding with Fate was spicy. It was fun. Like, they even had a cat named KP. And if you read the books, you know what KP stands for. Just saying. But this third one, baby, out the gate, like 3 chapters in, this just raunchy. I was like, oh, I don't know what to do. Every other chapter, it's baby girl. And I was like, oh, this is what we're doing. But it still was a good story. It's a little bit more spice than expected, especially reading the other books in her series. But it was a good book still. It was very cute. It was not as good as Colliding with Fate, but I'll still give it 4 stars. So if you have not read those series, like you might enjoy, like it's a good romance type thing. It's friend group focused. There are black people pretty successful. Like I love black people just living life. Like, is anybody else like love reading and watching shows about black people just living life, just normal people? I live for it. Like, live for it. I love when they don't have a struggle. But it's true. I feel like we get dumped on so much with black trauma and all these tropes, especially during Black History Month. Like, even if you read like historical fiction or something like that, you're like, oh, trauma. Like, I love to protect my peace in my adult age, and I do not succumb to myself to being trauma dumped when it comes to black art. I can't do it. I can't. I've had enough trauma to share with 10,000 people. So I love books and I love movies with black people just being normal, living their lives, being successful, like just just being themselves. Love it. Spectacular. So if you do enjoy that along with me, I would say definitely check it out. You might be surprised. You might find a new author you like. Again, the third one, woo, it was spicy. Definitely 5 spice. The second one though, Colliding with Fate, was probably like a 3 spice. It was still good though. But whoever's read that book, tell me. I want to know what you thought about KP and that whole story. That was crazy. But yeah, that's so far what I've read in February. I am about to be back on my fantasy train. Choo choo. I am starting The Throne of Glass by Sarah J. Maas. I've been putting it off for a month now. I'm like, I'm reading all these other books. I might as well go ahead and read all of her books in that series and get started with Crescent City, which I did think about starting Crescent City first, but decided against it because I read the first chapter and I was like, I don't know what's going on. So we're going with Throne of Glass. We're actually going to start with the prequels, the novellas, which is The Assassin's Blade. We're going to start with that, and then we're going to Throne of Glass, and we'll take it from there. I'll probably have a Sarah J. Maas video to talk about all of her series soon. It just kind of depends on how far I get with this one, but thank you guys for coming back and watching and discussing these books with me. It's so much fun reading, you guys. If you have not tried it, I definitely give it 10 stars across the board. 10, 10, 10s across the board. And it's mainly because TV is boring, people are becoming lazy, and the only way you can get a full experience is through a book all up here in your brain. But thank you for watching and see you guys next time.